energy.
The guy told me I was no spring chicken anymore, and that's why my ankle was still hurting. I'm 33, not 133.
The passion.
The Red Sox handling of Xander Bogaerts is a complete organizational failure.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
No, not this year, but it's next year where Bill Belichick ends up on the hot seat.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. We've got a full show, all 90 minutes. We're up until 7 o'clock, and then we give way to Jazz with George Thomas. Coming up in about 15 minutes, our guy Marshall Kramsky is going to stop by. You recognize that name, I hope. He used to do sports at NBC5 here in Vermont, but now he covers the Bengals for a station out in Cincinnati. He was there yesterday in Buffalo as they beat the Bills to advance back to the AFC title game. So we'll chat with him. We'll get you ready for all of championship weekend in the NFL as the divisional weekend is now behind us. Red Sox winter weekend, UVM hoops and hockey have great weekends, so a ton of stuff to get to.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
And the Napa Morrisville Napa Waterbury text line is open, 802-585-3026. Your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. You can also watch the show always, Facebook Live and YouTube Live. So the opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show were brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center. Divisional weekend now behind us. Championship weekend is now set for next weekend. And let's start here. This past weekend, right, Saturday and Sunday, went exactly as we thought it would go in terms of winners and losers. We went 4-0 this week in getting the Chiefs over the Jags, the Eagles over the Giants. We had the Bengals over the Bills, and we had the Niners over the Cowboys. So none of the results from this weekend surprised me, right? I predicted all of it on Friday. Now, I don't think I deserve prognosticator of the year for this, but we did go 4-0. So the end results from this weekend do not surprise me. But I was surprised by some of the things that happened. I was surprised by how some of this went down. The Eagles completely dominated the Giants. I thought they would win. I thought they'd win by a touchdown. Didn't think that it was going to be utter domination like it was, so that surprised me. Brock Purdy, again, impressed me. I wanted really hard to not be impressed by Brock Purdy. I've wanted really hard to be annoyed by the coverage of how great Brock Purdy is, but he impressed me yesterday. He played well, and I was surprised at how overmatched Buffalo looked early. So while the end results didn't surprise me, what we saw over the last 2 days, some of it did. NFC title game will be first, by the way, next Sunday. AFC title game will be next. And I'm not going to talk much about the Patriots today. I know that offends Gary on the text line. I just want to say this. As we get now to title game weekend, you are seeing the difference between good teams and great teams. And we talked last week about how far or how close or far the Patriots are from contending. You look at the teams that are left, and you see the Patriots aren't close to them. You look at the teams that have just been eliminated, and you realize, okay, the Patriots can get there. I look at the teams that lost this weekend and last week, and I'm like, the Patriots will not have a hard time being that team, right? The Patriots could add a couple pieces here and there and get to Seattle's level. They could add a couple pieces here and there and get to Jacksonville's level. They could add a couple pieces here and there and get to Dallas's level, a couple of pieces here and there and get to and get to the Giants level. Like, to get just to be a playoff caliber team, the Patriots are not that far away. To get to be a Super Bowl caliber team, you are seeing where the separation is for these four teams that are left and everybody else, including the Pats, right? I mean, you're seeing it on display. You look at Cincinnati, got a star quarterback, 2 stud receivers, a great running back, an offensive play caller, and a defensive coordinator in Lou Anarumo who are starting to get to know a little better as well. Patriots don't have all of that. The Patriots don't have most of that. They're far away from Cincinnati. Despite almost beating them, they're far away from them, especially in the playoffs. They're still far away from Buffalo. Even though Buffalo didn't look very good yesterday, they're far away from Kansas City. They're far away from Philly. They're far away from the 49ers. So can the Patriots get to the playoffs? Yes. Can they be a threat in the playoffs to win a game? Yes. Are they a Super Bowl threat? No. And they are not particularly close to that. Like, they're not far from getting in the club. They're far away from being allowed bottle service and in the VIP section of the club. All right. That's it for the Patriots for a little while. Let's unpack the divisional weekend. So play me the music, people. All right, Joe Burrow, he is that dude. We talk about if guys in the NFL, if they're dudes or if they're jags, right? Jag means just a guy. Do you have a jag or do you have the guy? Joe Burrow is the guy. I mean, after last year in the run of the Super Bowl, we knew that Burrow was pretty darn good. But we wondered, was it fluky? Was it a product of the schedule? Did they benefit from an injury here or there? We knew he was pretty good, and coming into this year, he was probably hovering in the elite conversation. Joe Burrow's not hovering. He is elite. Simply put, Joe Burrow does everything well. Everything you could want at the position, he does. He has confidence and swagger. He believes in himself. He talks well of his guys. He appears to be well liked by his teammates. He has enough mobility to extend plays and pick up some first with his legs to extend plays and give time for his receivers to get open. I mean, those first two drives yesterday were an absolute clinic by Joe Burrow. He throws the deep ball well. He makes good decisions on when to take a check down. Those two drives, they were surgical. It's a good Bills defense. It's not great, but they have playmakers, and he just carved it up. And he carved it up in bad weather. Nothing seems to rattle Joe Burrow. His offensive line missing, 60% of its starters didn't rattle him. Another team's pass rush doesn't rattle him. A team having a great day, DB doesn't rattle him. Bad weather doesn't rattle him. Going on the road doesn't rattle him. Playing Patrick Mahomes doesn't rattle him. Joe Burrow is that dude. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Hurst the tight end, Joe Mixon. He distributed the ball well. He delivered it to all levels. I mean, Joe Burrow's a stud. And what makes it even cooler is that for the last 2 years, Joe Burrow and the Bengals have kind of done it under the radar, right? We have focused on the Chiefs party and the Bills party, and then it was Russell Wilson in the offseason. And when will Justin Herbert take that step? And, Tua looks great, Mike McDaniel and Tyreek Hill, etc. We focused on all these other teams in the AFC. Lamar Jackson's fun. Deshaun Watson's in Cleveland. And through all of that, Joe Burrow and the Bengals just keep going. Joe Burrow's a top 3 quarterback in the NFL right now. Now, Mahomes is there. I think Allen is there. Burrow is there for sure. Hurts isn't in that conversation. Herbert's not in that conversation. Brady, Rodgers, Wilson, they're not there right now. Burrow is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. He is a star. Number 2. Yesterday was a really disappointing end to a really strong yet really challenging year for Buffalo. I feel bad for Bills fans. I know I'm not supposed to. I know I'm a Patriots fan. I know I'm supposed to hate them. I don't. I feel bad for Bills fans, and I feel bad for Bills players as well. Football-wise, this is a major letdown. It's a major disappointment. The Patriots running a division forever, that's an anomaly. You don't get to control divisions for 10 years at a time in the NFL. When you have your run, when you find your window, you have to capitalize on it. The Bills have won the division 3 years in a row, and they haven't capitalized on it. They lost in the divisional round the last 2 years, conference title game in 2020. When you have your chance, you need to take it. The NFL doesn't give you a rite of passage to be good forever. Now, Josh Allen gives the Bills a longer window in general, but this core of Allen, Diggs, Von Miller, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White, it's not going to be together forever. It's not going to be healthy forever. The Bills have a window still, but to not capitalize on this dominance in the division for the last 3 years, it's incredibly disappointing. They have aging players on the roster. They have expensive players on the roster. You're not going to be able to keep everybody. I saw somebody say already today they think they're going to get rid of Jordan Poyer. It's going to be tough for Buffalo to repeat what they've done for the last 3 years for the next 3 years. I believe in Allen. I think he's awesome. But yesterday, they really couldn't get anything going. And Matt Verderam of a fan side had told us last Monday, like, the Bills need a play other than, hey, Josh, go be Superman. Yesterday, they didn't really have one. They were counting on Josh Allen to be Superman. And yesterday, he wasn't able to. So football-wise, incredibly disappointing what the Bills endured yesterday. But it's also the end. Part of the reason I don't hate the Bills, part of the reason I was rooting for the Bills internally, is because of what they've been through this year. This has been a challenging calendar year for the Bills. I know in the NFL you don't get excuses, but the Bills looked like they were wiped out. And some of their players acknowledged, like, this was an emotional gauntlet and we just ran out of gas, right? There was the mass shooting in Buffalo in the offseason, the massive snowstorms that caused death, that caused them to be relocated for that game against Cleveland when they played in Detroit around Thanksgiving, the Damar Hamlin story. There was a lot of grief and just getting by in this Bills season. And again, maybe they just ran out of steam. So football-wise, it's a disappointment, but in general, I feel bad for the Bills. They couldn't overcome the obstacles one more time. Number 3, I want to give real props to Chad Henne. What Chad Henne did on Saturday was incredible. He came into the game for Patrick Mahomes and drove the Chiefs 98 yards on 12 plays. Like, when the backup quarterback comes in, you're often just hoping. I hope for the best. I hope to get us out of our own end zone. I hope for a couple of first downs. I hope nothing bad happens. It's always hope, 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 hope. Well, Chad Henne provided that hope and then some. He actually aided in the win in a huge way. They may not win this game if Chad Henne doesn't play and play well. A 12-play, 98-yard drive coming in cold from the backup quarterback. That doesn't happen. Doesn't happen in the playoffs. I don't remember Chad Henne taking a meaningful snap since the 2020 playoffs when he picked up an injured Patrick Mahomes. So I don't remember Henne playing in like 2 full calendar years. Maybe he's gotten into games, but it's been like 2 full years since he did anything meaningful for the Chiefs. And he comes out in the playoffs cold and goes 12 plays, 98 yards, chews up 6 minutes of clock, keeps the Jags on the sideline, gives the Chiefs a 10-point lead. That is superhuman stuff from Chad Henne. Now, I don't doubt that Mahomes is going to play on Sunday. I don't know how he'll be in the AFC title game against Cincy, but they very well may not be in that game if not for what Chad Henne does. Finally, the Dallas Cowboys Twitter account needs to take a hike. I mean, the guy running the Cowboys Twitter account needs to get lost. Did you see this? So the Cowboys lose yesterday to the 49ers, right? And Dak Prescott has 2 picks. The Cowboys official Twitter account has a story about the game and writes this: Dak Prescott gave away the ball twice in the narrow loss to the 49ers in a matchup the Cowboys had a chance to win if they didn't again generate self-inflicted wounds. That comes from the team's official Twitter account. That is garbage, right? The media is going to pick apart Dak. The local media, the national media is going to pick apart Dak. They're going to rip the Cowboys, and that's all fair. But your team account should not be going after you. I worked at Norwich University for a year, right? When you work for the team, when you work for a school, you are just you are a wing of the public relations department. Everything is spun positively, right? I'm writing a Norwich baseball story and we lose 18-1, and there's no mention of that in the highlight, right? It's Norwich outmatched by Castleton, or Jones's 3 hits not enough as Cadets can't keep pace. Like, that's how you do this when you work for a team or for an organization, and the Cowboys Twitter account just throws Dak right under the bus. Everybody else is going to throw Dak under the bus. They're allowed to. That's their job. The team's Twitter account is there to promote the team and promote the players. And if you are the guy running the Cowboys Twitter account, that is a chump move. And that's not just me being protective of Dak. Everybody on social media is stunned that tweet was A, put out there, and it is B, still out there. That is absolute garbage. You're going to take a lot of heat if you're Dak and if you're the Cowboys quarterback. That heat should not come in the form of friendly fire. It's the Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. I mentioned Joe Burrow. I mentioned Josh Allen. Burrow outduels Allen yesterday, and the Bills' season is over. The Bengals are heading to the AFC title game. I want to talk with a guy who was in Buffalo yesterday, and he's somewhere in a car right now. It is former NBC5, that's right, here in Vermont, former NBC5 sports anchor and reporter Marshall Kramsky. He's with us now on the phone line. He's now a reporter and anchor at WCPO in Cincinnati. He's been covering the Bengals every step of the way. And yeah, he was in Buffalo yesterday. Marshall, thanks for being with us. How are you, man? Good to talk again.
I'm good, Brady. It's been a lot of fun covering, maybe the most famous person in all of sports right now in Joe Burrow. We're having a good time. It's been a busy road, but a fun one.
Well, look, since leaving Vermont, a year or so ago, your career really has taken off. Again, you find yourself yesterday in Buffalo watching the Bengals beat the Bills. What has it been like to be on this ride and cover a team that finds itself just one win away from the Super Bowl yet again?
It's been really special. I kind of think that's the only way to put it. The way this community, this city has gathered around this team and getting to know the guys, like, I don't know how else to put it, but they're just a good group of people. Like, I'm in that locker room multiple times a week. Everyone is so welcoming. They care about each other. There's no egos in there. And honestly, it kind of reminds me a lot of Vermont, of like the people on the team are all there out for each other, trying to help each other, kind of the way that I felt when I was in Vermont, getting to know Vermonters.
I'm not surprised the Bengals won. Like, I predicted them to win on Friday, but I was surprised at how easy they made it look. How did they do what they did yesterday?
They are that good. They have been overlooked for the last season and a half. They are that good. I think a lot of it is the zero egos on that team. And you have maybe the best receiver, one of the top 2-3 receivers in football in Jamar Chase. And T. Higgins would be a number 1 receiver on most other teams, and he has no problem playing number 2. Joe Burrow, the same kind of thing. He doesn't want any of the spotlight. It just kind of comes to him. Everyone is out to help each other. A big part of it, though, in a football aspect, is the defense. They don't have that flashy one name at any part of the defense, but defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, he's the kind of guy who gets the most out of every single player, and he gets every single one, from the third string guy, the practice squad guy, to the starting safeties and captains. They are all bought into the same plan. And as cornerback Eli Apple said yesterday, Lou Anarumo, he's a wizard. He's a defensive guru. And a lot of that, they held Josh Allen and the Bills to 10 points.
Yeah.
Hard to win a game with only scoring 10 points.
Is Burrow as cool in person as he is on the field?
He's pretty cool. One thing I think isn't talked about enough about Joe Burrow is how kind and genuine he is. Every time I pass him, hey man, hey Marshall, how you doing? Like, he's a thoughtful guy, very quiet, a little introverted. He kind of beats to his own drum in the sense that he just wants to kind of mind his own business. Joe Burrow's ideal world, he goes, plays football, goes home, watches tape, plays video games, watches some UFC, goes to bed, does it again the next day. That's just kind of who he is. He beats to his own drum, and I think that is what makes him cool in today's age. If you go over to his locker, it's very funny. One of my favorite little tidbits about him is he has a folded up chessboard next to his locker. He loves playing chess.
I know, so Burrow's from Athens, Ohio, and his dad worked at Ohio University. And I know Athens and Cincinnati are not right next door. They're like 2 hours and 45 minutes away. But does he have a little bit of that hometown hero in him being from Ohio?
Yes, he takes a lot of pride in playing for one of the only two professional football teams in Ohio. Again, that he always will say, like, being able to do this in Ohio means so much to him. But it's kind of hard to call him the hometown guy because Sam Hubbard, who scored the game-winning touchdown just last week, is from around the corner.
Yeah.
So, and they're great friends from Ohio State. So, yeah, there is a lot of pride he takes in being the Ohio guy. That's absolutely been a storyline ever since he was drafted, and he spent time at Ohio State, obviously, before LSU. So he takes pride in being from Ohio, to answer your question, but the hometown hero is Sam Hubbard.
We're all focused up here, obviously, on the Patriots and how can they get back to an AFC title game. You referenced T. Higgins, and that's funny because T. Higgins next year is going to go into the final year of his rookie contract, and the Bengals are going to have a lot of people to pay, and Burrow's going to get paid. It just came out with the other day that they're working on a deal for him. So I've heard the rumor that T. Higgins could be expendable potentially, and that the Patriots might be able to swing a deal for him. Could you see the Bengals breaking up this core potentially and Higgins being available? Because we'd certainly like some help on the outside.
No. In short, I think all the T. Higgins things are absolute rumors. I think their number one priorities are going to be Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. They love having them together. And I know in the short term, figuring out a deal for T. Higgins is of the utmost priority. I just don't see it happening. I think that's all rumors and fluff. Like, I think T. Higgins is the kind of guy who I've heard the Patriots name. I've heard the Giants name. I think he stays in Cincinnati.
Marshall Kramsky, sports anchor, reporter, WCPO in Cincinnati. Again, used to be here in Vermont, working at NBC5. Marshall, as great as I'm sure it was to cover yesterday, you also had to cover the Damar Hamlin story earlier this year as that occurred in Cincy. What was that night like for you? What was it like throughout the week?
The night specifically was one the week I'll never forget, but specifically the night, I used the word a lot on my coverage and on social media. It was bone chilling. I saw it all break down and I saw it all happen. And almost, as I recounted it, I have an op-ed piece that I'm happy to share with your listeners that basically when Hamlin went down, we didn't know what was happening. I grabbed my binoculars like I always do. I looked down to the field, and I remember saying, the safety Damar Hamlin's down. Like we do with any other injury. You look at the depth chart, who's next, we wait to hear what his status is going to be. But then so quickly, before players were even able to get a stretcher out onto the field, before medical professionals could do that, we saw CPR beginning to be performed. We saw, before they could even get to a highlight, the stretcher was out there. Then a defibrillator comes out, and it was, to use the word, bone chilling. That night, we didn't know what to do, where to go, and all we could do was report on what we saw and what we were hearing. I've never seen so many NFL players, grown men. I saw Josh Allen in tears. I saw a lot of players crying. I saw Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, and some of the other, DJ Reader, and some of the other Bengals captains go over to the Bills locker room, say to head coach Zach Taylor, we need to go talk to their captains. And eventually Zach Taylor later said, I didn't know what the right call was, but saw them talk to the other captains. As soon as they got off the field, no one in that stadium, at least in the media perspective, thought they were going back out on that field. That game was canceled. And then as the week went on, it was just waiting for updates, talking to his family, getting as much information as we can, because as much as everyone was praying for him, the whole world wanted information, wanted to know he was safe, wanted to know what the NFL was doing. And that was just a roller coaster of a week. I was doing, live television hits all over the country because people wanted to know what was happening in Cincinnati. And it's a week I'll never forget. Just happy he's okay. It was really great to see him at the game yesterday too. He seems to be in great spirits.
That's got to be a interesting dichotomy for you, because here you are, young reporter, relatively new to the business, and this story, you were at the forefront of it. It's a chance for you to kind of really make your name and get a lot of exposure, but that comes against the backdrop of something that's pretty horrific in the moment.
Yeah, it was hard. I didn't really honestly think about that until it started to happen. I was just doing my job and caring and trying to be the empathetic person that I try to be and the empathetic reporter and get the information that people want out there. But I mean, there definitely was a lot more notoriety that came with it, and my phone didn't get, people did reach out to me, but I didn't like to think of any of that. It was such a hard thing because, you do sports too, man. We get into sports because we love sports. We love talking scenarios and hypotheticals and telling stories. This isn't why I wanted to do it. This isn't why I want anyone to know my name. All I cared about was being a faceless voice that just gives the story of what people needed to hear. I'm just glad Damar Hamlin's okay.
You've covered a lot of big events now in Cincinnati over the last year or so since you've been there. What are some of your best moments and memories of being up here and things you got to cover up here in Vermont and the North Country?
Oh, I talk about it all the time. I mean, getting to cover the Winter Olympics in Vermont was one of my favorite experiences I've ever had. The coverage we did on NBC5 was second to none. That stuff, I'm telling you, could go up against top 10 markets in the country, what we did those few weeks. That will always stand out to me. And covering UVM, the men's basketball team going to the March Madness, actually in Buffalo, which was the last time I was there. That was really cool. I still talk to Coach Becker, every now and then, wishing him luck and seeing what he's got there. He's got an interesting young group of guys going for him right now. I know they're not where they would like to be, but, that's a whole nother conversation. And I love covering Vermont men's and women's hockey. I love Coach Bloomer, love Coach Woodcroft. Those are some of my favorite events. The Winter Olympics, that will always stand out to me.
You come back to eat next time. You come back to Burlington next time. Where's the first place you're going to eat?
Oh, that's a good question. There's a few places. I miss Mandarin and Winooski. Yes, I love their cocktails. So, and I like, I'm trying to think, I'm going to leave something out, man, because I ate. If you ask anyone on Church Street, they knew my name. I ate there a lot. Guild Tavern in South Burlington. I love their burger. You put me on the spot, Brady. You know where I really like Four Quarters in Winooski. I lived in Winooski, so I like Four Quarters a lot too.
Have you been to a bar in Cincinnati yet when Zach Taylor brings in a game ball?
I have not, because I'm at the field still.
Yeah.
So I joked with Coach Taylor, he's giving out game balls. I'm still working about his team. No one works more than Zach Taylor. So no, I have not been at the bar. I've had friends who have been at the bar and have sent me the selfies saying they're doing my job for me. And I do appreciate the free content.
Marshall Kramsky, sports anchor, reporter, WCPO in Cincinnati. He's going to follow the Bengals to Kansas City for the AFC title game, and used to be here on our TVs and NBC5 up here in Vermont and the North Country. Marshall, man, appreciate it. Enjoy the journey. I've covered 4 Super Bowls. There's nothing quite like it. I hope you get a chance with the Bengals to go cover one as well.
I appreciate it, Brady. As they say, they got to play us next game, Kansas City.
Hey, buddy, we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good, Brady. Thanks.
Absolutely. There goes Marshall Kramsky, formerly of NBC5, and now hitting it big in Cincinnati at WCPO. Really good stuff. We're going to cut up some of that stuff about T. Higgins, by the way, I think, and use it later this week, because I saw, that Phil Perry, our guy from NBC Sports Boston, said he thought the Patriots should trade for T. Higgins. Marshall says not a chance, doesn't think they would break up that course. So there's an interesting angle there. We can talk about that later in the week. Also, really kind of chilling to hear him describe how bone chilling it was to cover the Damar Hamlin story. I mean, I can't even imagine what it was like to be there in person and then to kind of be at the forefront of information. I mean, Marshall blew up that day, that night. He blew up all week because he's one of the few people who was there, who had access, who had answers, who had insight. And I can't even imagine kind of the backdrop, right? Like, that's your big break in this business. That's the thing that gets you bigger. but it comes at the expense of this guy and DeMar Hamlin, who you don't know what's going to happen to him. Just crazy. I also appreciated his reverence for covering sports in this area. It is special, and I'm glad he had so many good things to say about it. So that was Marshall. We're going to get CBS News for a couple of minutes, and then when we come back, UVM men's basketball beats NJIT. One simple difference. That's what led to yesterday's performance. It was one thing. That was the difference. I'll tell you what that one thing is next on the Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV AM and FM.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren, 96.5 W243 AT Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I'm Monica Ricks in New York. Investigators are looking into another deadly shooting today, this time at a school in Iowa. CBS's Matt Piper has the latest.
The incident happened at a school in Des Moines dedicated to helping at-risk youth. 2 students were shot and killed, and a teacher was seriously injured.
You know, these are supposed to be our safe spaces.
Des Moines PD Sergeant Paul Parazak.
The incident was definitely targeted. It was not random. There's nothing random about this. It was certainly a targeted incident. But as far as, again, motive, that's something that we are going to try and figure out. But oftentimes we're kind of all left wondering.
Police have 3 suspects in custody. Matt Piper, CBS News.
11 people have now died following the massacre in Monterey Park, California. CBS's Steve Futterman is there.
Authorities here in Monterey Park continue to look for a motive. Police Chief Scott Weiss.
The why is a big part of this. The problem is we may never know the why.
The gunman, 72-year-old Hu Cam Tran, was a one-time regular at the dance studio where the killings occurred, but that was many years ago.
State and federal investigators are now looking into whether police in Memphis used excessive force when they stopped a black driver earlier this month. The public hasn't seen it, but attorney Anthony Romanucci says that Tyree Nichols' family watched police cam footage today.
He was a human pinata for those police officers. It was an unadulterated, unabashed, nonstop beating of this young boy for 3 minutes.
Nichols was 29. Bail has been denied for Solomon Pena in New Mexico. The failed Republican candidate's accused of hiring gunmen to attack the homes of Democratic elected officials there. Prosecutors argued Pena would be a danger if released. The White House is dodging more questions amid a 5th finding of classified documents in President Biden's possession.
A spokesman for the White House counsel's office spent 35 minutes on a call with reporters.
We're just not going to comment on that.
They declined to answer key questions. Ian Sam cited the ongoing criminal probe.
You know, we don't want to be saying too much about the underlying investigation.
Sams wouldn't even say who's paying the president's personal attorneys.
On that, I'm going to have to refer you to
But he did say of the president's decision to offer the FBI a chance to search his Wilmington home.
It reveals how seriously the president is taking this issue and how actively he is cooperating with the ongoing investigation.
Stephen Portnoy, CBS News, the White House.
2 major winter storms are set to slam millions of Americans this week. The first could dump more than a foot of snow on New England. The others a little more widespread, with snow and freezing rain expected to hit from North Texas to Michigan. This is CBS News.
Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance, so you only pay for what you need. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I'll second guest dinners with friends because they can be interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit creoninfo.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREONinfo.com.
A new finds mindfulness may be just as good as meds to treat anxiety. CBS's Deborah Rodriguez explains.
Research in the journal JAMA Psychiatry shows people who practiced 8 weeks of mindfulness-based interventions like breathing exercises experienced a decrease in anxiety that matched outcomes from the prescribed medication escitalopram or Lexapro. More than 200 participants in both medication and mindfulness groups dropped from moderate levels of anxiety to mild. All began the study with similar baseline scores. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
Investigators in Minnesota are looking into 2 men who may have been running a TikTok gambling scheme. Agents with the state's Alcohol and Gambling Enforcement Division believe they were collecting fees for playing slots on behalf of other users watching them on the app. State law does prohibit placing bets on behalf of someone else, but so far, no one's been charged. Monica Ricks, CBS News.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Thanks again to Marshall Kramsky, the sports anchor and reporter at WCPO in Cincinnati, and he formerly worked here in the Champlain Valley, well, really all of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Northern New York as well, so over at NBC5. That interview already up on our podcast channel on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify and at WDEVradio.com. UVM men's basketball rolled over NJIT yesterday afternoon at Patrick Gym. The final score was 85-69. The Catamounts are back at 500 now at 10-10 on the year, and they're now 4-2 in America East play, which is good enough to be tied for second in the conference. So what was the key yesterday, right? We've come on here, and after losses at New Hampshire, and we've broken it down. Loss against UMass Lowell and broken it down. Even a win against Maine last week that I didn't feel that great about. So UVM rolls NJIT yesterday, puts up 85 points, wins by 16. What's the difference? You're going to laugh at me when I say this, because it sounds so incredibly basic. But the difference yesterday for UVM was that they finally shot the ball well from the outside. That's it. That's the difference. Why did UVM look great yesterday? They shot it well. Why has UVM not looked good in a lot of games this season? Because they haven't shot it well. It's so basic. It's funny. It's so simple that it's stupid. Someone in their car is laughing at me for my UVM analysis, but that's just what it is. It is amazing how much easier your life is when you can shoot the ball from the outside. And UVM did that yesterday in a way that they have not done it for a while, and certainly haven't done it consistently. UVM hit threes yesterday. They hit 11 of them. That's 33 points that are given to them off the 3-point shot. And then what else happens? When you're shooting it well, now defenders they're going to fly by you. They're going to fall for pump fakes, and you're going to get to the lane easier. Those things happen when you can shoot the ball effectively from beyond the arc. And UVM did that yesterday. And they haven't been doing it recently. Look, UVM scored 85 yesterday. They scored 66 against Maine, 65 against UMass Lowell, and 60 against New Hampshire. They hadn't been scoring a lot at all, and it's in large part to the fact they couldn't hit any shots. And they couldn't hit any shots with any kind of regularity. They were dreadful from the outside. Yesterday, they win comfortably, and I believe it is because they shot it well, so well from the outside. They were 37% from three. They could have been better percentage-wise, but 11 of 30 is way better than 4 for 19 or 7 for 25 or any of the percentages or any of the numbers that we've been seeing from UVM far too often recently. I feel like every game I look at the box score and there's UVM 1 for 8 from three to start, and they finish 4 for 19 or 6 for 24 or something like that. 11 for 30, that is a huge improvement, a huge improvement. And I watched most of that game yesterday, right? I watched all the second half, and I watched the last 5 minutes of the first half. They just looked like a different team offensively. They just looked different. They looked confident. They looked loose. They looked like they were having fun. They moved the ball well. They were shooting, with assertiveness. They just looked different. And when you see the ball go through the net a couple of times, you can have that kind of attitude too. So what was the difference yesterday? Why did UVM look great? They shot it well. It's that simple. They haven't shot well before. They haven't shot well most of the year. They shot well yesterday. Is it repeatable? I don't know. Now UVM needs to fight to try to get it to be repeatable. But if UVM is going to do the things we want them to do the rest of the season, they're going to have to be a lot closer to this team shooting the ball than the versions of UVM we've seen for a lot of this year and certainly over the last 3 games. I mean, Finn Sullivan had a career-high 28 points. How many times have we come in here after a UVM game and said, Finn Sullivan had 4. Finn Sullivan had 0 against Bryant. Finn Sullivan had 8. They need more from him. He had 28 yesterday. We talk about your stars playing like stars. That's a star effort. Talk about a preseason all-conference player playing like an all-conference player. That's the effort that you get. 28 points, 6 threes. Confident, aggressive, assertive, and it opens up things for the rest of your teammates. Cam Gibson had 18. Huge credit. I remember coming in here after the first exhibition game, right? UVM played St. Mike's in the first exhibition game, and I think Cam Gibson went scoreless. And we came in here and said, it's a 5th-year senior. That's a guy you got to be able to get something from. We haven't always seen it. Yesterday, 18 points, 4 threes. Pump fake, goes by on a dribble, hits a pull-up jumper. Saw him. People respect the jump shot. They jump out at the jump shot. He goes to the bucket, gets to the cup. Cam Gibson was great yesterday. 18 points. You talk about a guy that's been getting, 4, 6, 8, 2, 0. Now you get 18. That's what good teams have. Good teams have stars that play consistently, and really good teams have other guys that step up. And yesterday, Cam Gibson stepped up. And our guy, Dylan Penn, give him credit too. I don't think I've been harsh on Dylan Penn. I think I've been honest on Dylan Penn. They got 15 points from him yesterday. 7 of 9 from the floor. Your star playing like a star. So Sullivan gets 28, Penn gets 15, Gibson gets 18. You win the game comfortably. You're not always going to get 28 from Finn Sullivan. You're not. But you've got guys now that are taking ownership, upperclassmen that are taking ownership. That's 3 fifth-year seniors that did their part offensively that helped get UVM a win. They did just look different yesterday. That's a good win. After the main win, I didn't feel that great. I feel good about the win yesterday. You scored a lot of points. You gave up still in the 60s, and really, NJIT got some garbage time points. So really, I think UVM's defense was pretty good. You had a bunch of assists. I think it was 19 assists on 27 made shots or something like that. Maybe that's the women's game, but nonetheless, you had a good assist to turnover ratio. You shot it well from 3. You had 3 players in double figures. I feel much better about the win yesterday than I did about the win against Maine. Now you're going to go on the road. You're going to play Binghamton. They're tied with you for second. You get a chance to make a statement. But if you're going to make that statement, you're going to need to be closer to the team we saw yesterday than the team we've seen previously. And, by the way, good for Robin Duncan. Robin Duncan, who I think is in his 6th year in the program. It might be 5th. I think it's 6th. He got his first dunk in a game yesterday.
Sullivan, kick out Veretto, finds Robin Duncan. He beats Diakite. He goes up and slams it. It's an old man's jam. Robin Duncan throws it down. He's been promising that for years. The bench is absolutely bouncing. 7-3 UVM on a Robin Duncan two-handed flush.
First dunk of his career for Robin Duncan. Now, the old man jam, I didn't take that to mean that Robin was old. I took that to mean that it was a two-handed stuff from kind of like, underneath the rim. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't sexy. It just kind of got the job done. I took it to mean that. earlier when I played that clip on the midday news service, Lee Cattell thought the broadcaster was not insulting, but was talking about Robin's age. I didn't take it that way. I took it just to be kind of you go up, two hands, then you're done with it. It's not a big, we're not thumping the chest. You're not flying through the lane, throwing it down with one hand, tomahawk style. So the jury is out on what the call means, but nonetheless, good for Robin Duncan in general. And another day where he played well, passed well, rebounded well, scored just enough, and the team wins comfortably. UVM, I've never been out on them. They are flawed, right? Will they hit 11 threes on Wednesday night against Binghamton? I don't know. But if they can start to shoot it better, then they become the dangerous team that we thought they would be, right? You hit from the outside, everything else opens up for you. Why is Dylan Penn able to get to the lane so easy? Probably because the defense for NJIT is having to extend out higher to stop the shot. When nobody can shoot and you can pack in the lane, well, it's harder for a guy like Dylan Penn to get there. Yesterday's shooting display just opens up everything for this team. I want to spend a little bit of time, by the way, on the other UVM teams this weekend, because this was a great weekend across the board for UVM athletics. UVM men win. They're back at 500. The UVM women's basketball team, they destroyed NJIT on Saturday night. I mean, they beat Maine last week. That's the biggest regular season win, probably in the 7 years I've been following the program. There was no letdown on Saturday. Elisa Kresge's team was up 41-10 at the half. And NJIT came into that game at 4-2 in the league. It wasn't like they were 0-5 or 0-6. They were 4-2. And UVM was up 41-10 at the half. And UVM continues to ascend up the standings. They're tied for third right now in the America East. They continue to play well. They get better and better. Good production from their stars across the board. They got some extra contributions as well. And they win that game by 30, 65-32. That's a great job by Lisa Kresge and her team. And she talked about kind of their ability to move the ball and play as a team.
I think they realize that if they share the basketball, we're harder to defend. When we play one pass and a shot or always feeding the same person, it's easy to defend us. So I think they're really trusting each other. They're getting the ball to the right person at the right time. So I think we're starting to gel offensively even better than I thought we did in the non-conference.
Well, Coach Kresge was with us on Friday and said, sometimes their offense has been their bugaboo. They had, I think, 19 assists on 27 made shots the other day. So, you talk about getting an assist on almost every made basket. It's great productivity. So a good win for her team. They're, again, tied for third, and they're moving up the conference standings. Great weekend for UVM women's hockey. Also, Catamounts tried to pack the gut on Friday night, and they did. They got the biggest crowd in women's hockey history at UVM. More than 2,000 fans packed the gut on Friday night to see the 3-1 win over Holy Cross. Cats did lose on Saturday against Northeastern, but UVM right now is 2 points up on Providence for second place in the Hockey East standings, right? Jim Plumer talked with me last week, the head coach of the UVM women's team, and said, we want to finish in the top two. We want home games at the gut throughout at least the semifinals. And right now, they are on track for that. That is huge as well. And to see that program, which when I got here was kind of an afterthought, not even kind of, it was an afterthought. To see that program build into having all conference players and the player of the year last year in Teresa Schaafsal, and now getting into the top two in the standings and getting home games and drawing 2,000 fans, that's significant growth over the last 7 years since I've been here. Kudos to Jim Plumer and his team. And finally, kudos to UVM men's hockey as well. A banner weekend. The best weekend for UVM hockey I can remember, for UVM men's hockey, that I can remember in the 7 years I've been here. 5 points on the road at Boston College. Look, UVM is still near the bottom of the league. They are not a great team right now, but they went on the road against number 18 nationally and took 5 points. What more can you say about that? You do it once, it's a little bit fluky. Maybe the team overlooked you, whatever. You do it twice, you just played well. So UVM gets the shootout victory on Friday night and then wins the game outright on Saturday. Kudos to Todd Woodcroft and his team. On the road, they're injured and they're sick. They're missing several players right now. They go on the road. They win at number 18. They do it twice. I try to be honest with you. I know much more about UVM basketball than I do UVM hockey. I like basketball better. I understand the sport better. I have a longer history with the programs. That's just the truth. I love Coach Plumer. I love Coach Woodcroft. I get basketball better. So I can't tell you every intricacy of the UVM men's hockey program in the way that I can tell you about UVM basketball, but I can tell you guys that work hard, programs that work hard, programs that deserve good breaks, and UVM men's hockey is one of them. Todd Woodcroft gets hired in COVID, can't even see the campus. Todd Woodcroft got hired here without even seeing the campus because he couldn't travel because of COVID. So he gets hired here, comes here, gets the job, gets to play, 11 games or whatever his first year because of the COVID season. Last year, you're still dealing with some COVID stuff. He's got a really young team. This year, the same. Last year, they had the World Junior Championships. Guys are leaving. This year, they get guys in and out. They're very injured. They're ill. And they just battle. They just grind. I can tell you I appreciate that. And you should appreciate it, too. Texter says, Peter in Williston, so glad to see the UVM men hitting shots from downtown once more. Hopefully that continues going forward. I agree, Peter. If they do, it becomes a much different team, a much scarier team. Nate says this. He's written me a novel on UVM athletics. Let's see. All right. Brady, I'll say this on UVM athletics. I travel all over the country to see sports, and we travel from the opposite side of the state to see UVM athletics each week. Out of all the sports I watch this year, going to UVM and watching women's hockey and women's basketball has been some of the most fun, entertaining games I've been able to attend. The women's hockey team is a special group with good chemistry and generational talent. More locals should really get out and see these teams. They're awesome. That's a great PSA from Nate. That is a great PSA from Nate. This is, in the 7 years that I've been here, I would say this has to be the healthiest the overall athletic department has been. I think that's fair, right? Men's soccer gets to the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament. Huge. First time in 30 years. 33 years, I think. Huge run. Women's hockey, nationally ranked all season. As of now, top 2 team in Hockey East, the best league in the country. Right? If you watch Olympic hockey on the women's side, anyone that's playing in the Olympics, chances are they're playing in Hockey East. Maybe some players at Wisconsin, et cetera, but Northeastern, BC, BU, Olympic players, UVM, are coming from this league, and UVM is in second place. UVM men's hockey is down at the bottom of their conference or near the bottom, so I get that. But they have been at the bottom of their conference most of the time that I've been here. So being out of the cellar and being able to go out and win two games over a weekend against number 18 nationally, that's good improvement. And men's basketball's down for them this year, but they still have a lot in front of them. Men's lacrosse now, NCAA tournament kind of regular. I'd say this has to be the healthiest the UVM athletic department has been from an on-field, on-court perspective in the entire time that I've been here. All right, let's get to who's saying what.
Whoa. What did he say?
They have an expensive but totally unimpressive receiving core, and they have absolute best, at most charitable, the 9th best quarterback in their own conference.
They really said that?
Every damn thing is politics and race, and I'm losing my mind over it.
It's time for Who's Saying What on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
We've talked a lot about the idea of Bill O'Brien potentially being the next offensive coordinator for the Patriots. And we've talked a lot about how ownership seems to want O'Brien and about how he seems to be the leader in the clubhouse. He's the guy that the Patriots want. But the question we haven't really asked is this. If you're Bill O'Brien, are the Patriots your choice? Think about that. 802-585-3026. Robert Kraft wants Bill O'Brien. It's a logical connection for the team. It's a logical connection for Bill Belichick to want a guy he's previously worked with. It makes sense for the Patriots to want to hire O'Brien. Should O'Brien want the Patriots? We haven't talked much about that. Mike Felger of 98.5 The Sports Hub in Boston is asking the same question.
If I'm Bill O'Brien, Greg, the Patriots are not quite a no-brainer. They probably check most of the boxes for me, but there's some other good jobs out there too.
There are 12 offensive coordinator openings out there. 12. Are we sure if we're Bill O'Brien, the Patriots are our number one choice out of those 12? Chargers job is open. Rams job is open. Bucks job is open. Ravens job, Commanders, Pats, Panthers, Titans, Cardinals, Broncos, Texans, Jets. They're all open. If you're Bill O'Brien, is that the cream of the crop job for you? Felger says maybe, but I'm not quite sure. It's a good question. And I thought a lot about this today, and I kind of reluctantly come to the conclusion that yes. If I'm Bill O'Brien, the Patriots job is the number one job for me. I don't think the Patriots job is probably number one for everybody, but if I'm Bill O'Brien, it's number one for me. Again, it wasn't easy for me to come to that conclusion. But if I'm Bill O'Brien and just him, I think this is the spot that I want to be. Number one, I will not talk about another man's family. I just offer this in passing. Bill O'Brien has a son with significant medical needs, right? He needs medical attention. Being in Foxborough, being near Boston, that's going to bring you a level of care that some other cities can't match. So, number one, if I am Bill O'Brien and I'm thinking about my family dynamic and relocating my family or having my family visit me, I want to know I'm in a spot where my son can be taken care of. There's no better place on this list than Boston. So that right there vaults the Patriots into a good spot. Then I think the Patriots would set up Bill O'Brien good for his next spot afterwards. Bill O'Brien, I mean, we had Mike Rodak on last week who covers Alabama football and is covering O'Brien right now since he works with the Crimson Tide. He said, I think that Bill O'Brien wants to be an NFL head coach again. Well, if you want to be an NFL head coach again, what better recommendation to have than Bill Belichick and Nick Saban? So if Bill O'Brien wants to be an NFL head coach again, having Bill Belichick's recent recommendation and have success with the Patriots, I think that goes a long way. Right? We've seen former Belichick assistants not work out in the NFL, so some people might be scared off by it. But Bill Belichick's word and reference goes a long way. So if O'Brien's trying to set up the next job, then I think the Patriots check that box too. And then finally, I just think, while there are questions with the Patriots, undoubtedly, the other jobs that you would consider to maybe be better than the Pats, they got a lot of uncertainty also. Look, the Chargers seem like a win, right? Justin Herbert's there. A lot of people would want to work with the Chargers. Brandon Staley is very much on the hot seat. So if Brandon Staley gets fired after next year, then you're probably done. Because a new coach comes in and you get canned. So Chargers have questions. Rams have questions with that aging offense. Bucks, no Brady. The Ravens, I mean, John Harbaugh could very well be on the hot seat too. And if they don't have Lamar, and even if they do have Lamar, there's a lot of stuff going on there. If I'm Bill O'Brien, I'm thinking, you know what? Yeah, the Patriots are the best choice for me. Probably not for everybody else. Definitely not for everybody else. But given my family situation and my long-term goals, if I'm Bill O'Brien and I'm offered the Patriots job, then that's the job that I want. Texter says, very awesome to see UVM women's hockey and basketball getting some notoriety for how good they've become almost out of nowhere. You know, it's an interesting way of phrasing that. It's certainly not out of nowhere, because out of nowhere implies it was a fluke. It certainly has happened under the radar because we have not given proper attention to it, right? We haven't followed the building process. I mean, Jim Plumer's been building this thing. And, you know, I think you get the transfer portal now in there and it becomes a little bit easier to rebuild. But bottom line is he has helped build this program up, and I don't think it's out of nowhere. Elisa Kresge's been with this UVM basketball program for 7 years. She's the head coach now for 4 of them. This is her 4th year as the head coach, but the recruits that are there, she had a hand in bringing in. So it's not necessarily out of nowhere. Texter wonders, could NIL money, in addition to winning, bring more talent to Burlington? I don't know that UVM is going to have a bunch of NIL money, especially for women's athletics. I don't know that they're going to have a bunch of NIL money for men's athletics, too, frankly. I don't think that UVM is kind of the NIL capital. I don't think Vermont is great for NIL. Maybe I'll talk about that a little more tomorrow, though, because I think that is actually a very interesting question. My initial gut says NIL, I bet, has no impact here. We'll find out, though. Maybe I'll think a little differently about it tomorrow. Right now, I want to talk about the Red Sox. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll come back and look at Red Sox winter weekend. Some interesting comments made by Sam Kennedy of the Red Sox ownership group. And you know what? They mirror some things that I've been saying about the Red Sox. We'll tell you what those are next on DEV.
Granite, known for its strength, lies hidden deep in the earth and reveals itself only when the softer layers are worn away. At Rock of Ages, they dig deep to unveil the strength and toughness of the granite that lies below. Just like these college athletes dig deep to reveal the power within themselves. Rock of Ages is a proud supporter of Norwich hockey and reminds you that nothing is stronger or more beautiful than buried granite from Rock of Ages. Visit them on the web at rockofages.com.
The world is a constantly changing place, and being informed has never been more important. This is Steve Kathan. WDEV, Vermont's news station, and CBS provide you with up-to-the-minute news and information. Whether it's top and bottom of the hour news, breaking news, or special events, if Vermonters need to know, you can trust that WDEV and CBS will inform you. WDEV, keeping an eye on Vermont, while CBS keeps an eye on the world.
Winter's here, which means cold temperatures and sometimes icy sidewalks and roadways. These conditions can often make it challenging to stay active. I'm Nadia Fletcher, a nurse practitioner in our cardiology clinic at Copley Hospital. I'm fortunate to work with a dynamic team that includes cardiologists Dr. Adam Kunin and our recent addition, Dr. Michael Hayes. Our tip for a healthy heart during the winter months is to get at least 20 minutes every day of moderate intensity aerobic activity such as brisk walking, dancing, snowshoeing, or cross-country skiing. Add in some resistance or weight training twice a week. Physical activity is one of the best ways to keep your body healthy and your brain sharp, as well as improving mood during these cold and dark winter days. Remember to keep your body warm with plenty of layers and avoid going outside on the coldest days. On behalf of the cardiology team at Copley, we extend warm wishes to all for a safe winter season. For more information on cardiology services at Copley, call 802-888-8344 or visit copleyvt.org.
Progressive presents Adjusting to the Suburbs.
I never thought about space in my cramped apartment, but in this house, all I see is empty space. The sofa and ottoman look like tiny islands in a sea of hardwood floors. I could get 2 ottomans in the living room, but then I'd need another sofa. I could tell people I'm into minimalism.
Anyway, when you save with Progressive by bundling your home and auto, that's the easy part of adjusting to the suburbs. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
As Vermonters, we know that so much depends on the weather. When you need a reliable local weather forecast, it's literally at your fingertips with the WDEV weather phone. Locally dial 244-1172 or toll free at 1-800-585-1211. Roger Hill's weather forecast is just a phone call away on the WDEV weather phone, 244-1172 or 1-800-585-1211.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Jazz with George Thomas is coming up at the top of the hour, and that'll take you until 9 o'clock, and then it is Eye on the World with John Batchelor. Red Sox will be at spring training here in about 3 weeks. I cannot wait to get the reports soon from Fort Myers and hear about what's happening with the Sox. But Sox held winter weekend this past weekend in front of fans, and so it was interesting. Chaim Bloom and John Henry actually showed up to something. They got booed. Fans booed the Red Sox ownership group and the leadership team. So it was kind of a hostile environment. But some things were very interesting that got said over the course of winter weekend. And one of them, actually a couple of them, were from Sam Kennedy to our friend Tom Caron of NESN, right? TC was interviewing Sam Kennedy on NESN, and Sam Kennedy said something that is one of my fundamental beliefs about baseball. He confirmed it.
It's hard. Clearly, it's hard to build at the minor league system and win at the big league level. That's what we've been trying to do. Worked very well in 2021. We didn't get the ultimate goal, winning the World Series. We were 2 games away. We really thought we had a chance. Came back in 22, and it didn't work. So you've seen sort of the extremes. Our hope is that now as we go into 2023, we have guys coming along and developing. We do have deep starting pitching. We got a much improved bullpen. Excited about that. And we're obviously building around Rafi Devers now for the near term and for the future.
It's really hard to build up the minor leagues and to win at the major league level. I have said that forever. In 2021, as Sam Kennedy references, the Red Sox found a way to navigate that line. But by and large, that doesn't work. And when we ask ourselves, why have the Red Sox been kind of straddling this middle ground for the last couple of years where, okay, are they in or are they out? And then they're going to finish second and they're going to finish last and they're going back and forth. That's the reason why. That's the reason why. It's really, really hard to play that game. The Red Sox have tried to play it. Again, they played it well in 2021. They did not play it well in 2022. I think now more than ever in baseball, you have to be clear in your desire. You have to be clear in your plan, right? You've seen a lot of teams tear it down to the studs, and that is really, really difficult to do for a fan base. But it has yielded some really positive results for teams, right? Blue Jays tore it down. Mariners tore it down. Astros tore it down. White Sox tore it down, got to the playoffs 2 years in a row, right? Not everybody who's done this has won a World Series, but it has yielded a lot of results. You look at other teams who have been trying to build the minor leagues and get prospects, but also win at the major league level, right? The Twins have been up and down. And the Red Sox have been up and down. And the Angels have been more down than up, but they have tried. The Red Sox have been operating in this nebulous zone, and it has harmed them. And I get why they're doing it, right? No Red Sox fan, no New England person is going to be okay with them selling off the assets, selling off the farm. No one's going to be okay with that and them tanking for 3 years. So that's why they're kind of doing what they're doing. The fans demand it, right? I'm a Mariners fan. The Mariners fans aren't as demanding. The Mariners could take 2 seasons off, essentially, 3 seasons off, and everybody just kind of goes about their day and drinks their coffee and says, okay, we'll come back when the team is good. The Red Sox don't have that. So Sam Kennedy says we have tried to navigate that balance where we build up the farm system, but also win at the major league level. And they have been enemies of each other. Because if the Red Sox really wanted to support the farm system, well, guess what? They would have traded Xander Bogaerts. They would have. They would have traded him and gotten prospects. They would have dealt Nathan Eovaldi. They would have dealt Kike Hernandez last year. And they would have dealt all of these guys on 1-year deals, and Michael Wacha and Rich Hill. They would have dealt all those guys. So trying to be good in the now is the enemy of building your farm system. And conversely, the Red Sox unwillingness to part with farm system pieces has impacted their ability in the now. Red Sox didn't have good pitching last year. Didn't want to trade for a Chris Bassett in the offseason. Didn't want to trade for a Luis Castillo at the deadline. Couldn't. Didn't have the prospects either. Probably didn't want to, even if they did. That's tough. So the Red Sox are operating in this middle ground. And I look at it now, and I think the Red Sox are doing the same thing. The Red Sox are hoarding prospects. They are hoarding future pieces. That impacts their now. And then, they've got a bunch of, they don't want to go in and spend on long-term pieces for the most part because that impacts their prospects. The Red Sox are just caught in a vicious cycle here where they're half in and half out. And I think more than ever in baseball, you need to declare kind of where you're at. Sam Kennedy said something else that's very interesting that really mirrors something that I've just started saying recently.
2021 is the blueprint, right? You ferociously protect those prospects who you believe are going to contribute at the major league level and be a part of the next great team. And you use your resources, your economic resources, to invest in the team at the major league level and go out and get a guy like Kyle Schwarber to contribute down the stretch, or do what we did with Rafi Devers, create the longest term deal in the history of the club, the highest contract, and you spend to invest at the major league level.
All right, one thing I want to push back on. Sam Kennedy says you invest in the major league team. Red Sox really haven't invested in the major league team until now. And I mean really invest, right? They have invested in Devers and they did invest in Yoshida. But bottom line, the Red Sox haven't really invested the last couple of years. So that strategy, I get it, but it hasn't happened. Right, the last couple of years, that hasn't happened. Waka on a one-year deal. Hill on a one-year deal. Garrett Richards, Martin Perez, they're all on one-year deals. That's not investing in the major league club. That's putting Band-Aids on issues until your farm system pops. That's what that is. So I disagree with Sam Kennedy there because the team hasn't really operated that way. If they were doing that, they'd spend on DeGrom or Verlander or Rodon, or they would have gone after I said they did get Story. I give them that too. But if they kind of waited for Story to fall to them. They would have gone after Correa, or, they would have brought back Bogarts last year. So that's not entirely true. The first part of that, though, is true.
2021 is the blueprint, right?
2021 is the Red Sox blueprint. As we get ready to go to spring training and as we get ready to think about the Red Sox this year, 2021 is the plan. The Red Sox are hoping that this year ends up like that year. And that didn't become clear to me until recently, but it did become clear to me recently. The Red Sox are going to, as Sam Kennedy says, ferociously protect their farm system. They're not going to trade major assets from their farm system. And at the major league level, they're going to kind of just hope everything goes right. Usually hope is not a strategy, but hope is the Red Sox strategy. We're going to sign an aging reliever in Kenley Jansen and hope he's awesome. Same in Chris Martin, same in Jolie Rodriguez. We're going to hope that James Paxton's healthy. We're going to hope that Justin Turner doesn't fall off a cliff. We're going to hope that Chris Sale's back. If everything goes right, the Red Sox have a chance. It's certainly more likely things go wrong. In 2021, though, everything went right. And the Red Sox are trying to do that once again. A couple other things out of winter weekend. Kike Hernandez says he's excited and ready to be this team's shortstop.
Been waiting for this my whole life. I grew up a shortstop. I played shortstop my entire life. And when I got to pro ball, they said I wasn't fast enough to play shortstop. And the position that I played the most in the big leagues is the one that requires the most speed in center field. So, yeah, I believe shortstop, being the position that I played my entire life, I have the potential that of being my best position. And, like I said, I've been waiting for this opportunity my entire life. So really looking forward to it.
I think the Red Sox are best served not having Kike Hernandez at shortstop. Defensively, I've seen him in center field. I've seen him at second base. I know he's good. I'd rather him be there. There's a familiarity there. But at the end of the day, I guess I just have to talk myself into it. It sounds like that's what's going to happen. Kike seems to believe that he's going to play shortstop. This doesn't seem like, we'll wait and see if we sign someone, and then maybe I will if we don't. It seems like he's pretty dead set on shortstop. So it kind of seems like that's what's going to happen. I feel like the Red Sox are going to go into the season with Adam Duvall in center, Kike at short, and Christian Arroyo at second. I don't feel like that's their best defensive alignment because Kike is not being utilized at his two best positions. But Buster Olney told us last week that he likes Kike at shortstop because it allows them to maximize their offense, and that's where I kind of have to talk myself into. I mean, Arroyo and Kike is a better up-the-middle offense than Kike and Elvis Andrus or Kike and Jose Iglesias. So I'm not psyched about him playing shortstop, but he seems to think that he can do it. He wants to do it, and it does at least help the Red Sox get kind of their best offense on the field up the middle. And then finally, Trevor Story spoke about what happened to his elbow and getting surgery.
Something you never want to happen. Just kind of part of the game, I guess. You know, I was getting ready to throw. Just kind of get stretched out in my throwing program, and just felt something a little different. And went and got it checked out. Long story short, surgery was probably the best option, and that's what we ended up having to do. Obviously, something, no one ever wants to have surgery, and that's the last case scenario. But we did what we did. And
yeah, Story said he thinks he'll be back in 2023. If he is, I'm sure it won't be until at least the All-Star break. So I'm banking on Trevor Story being a complete wild card. I mean, if the Red Sox are out of it, then Story comes back with little pressure and can work his way into it. If the Red Sox are in it, then Story comes back as a great kind of late season addition towards a playoff push. So I'm not banking on Story being around this team at all until the All-Star break. And then at that point, we'll just kind of see where we're at and take stock of the season from that point. But Red Sox are going to be in spring training in about 3.5 weeks. And we are your home, as always, for Red Sox baseball, WDEV. There are 5 teams that took quarterbacks in the first round of the 2021 NFL draft. The Patriots are one of them, having selected Mac Jones. How do we feel about the Patriots in comparison to the other teams that took quarterbacks that same year? Where are the Patriots in terms of positive vibes and the overall trajectory? I'll tell you, for me, they're near the bottom. I'll tell you why. That's next on DEV.
Giving everything you've got on every possession, working with and supporting your team at every turn, treating each team member with respect, making sure you give your best every time. This is the essence of high school sports. It's also what we believe at Nelson Ace Hardware. At Nelson's, each team member gives their all and does their best for every customer. This is Bob Nelson of Nelson Ace Hardware. Linda and I appreciate not only your support of Nelson Ace Hardware, but your support of local area sports as well. Enjoy listening to the game, and remember, life is challenging, so play hard.
A community is more than houses on a street, more than schools and stoplights and stores. It's a place where you can't drive down the road without someone waving at you. Without people, there's no community. We're lucky. Lamoille County has a lot of good people. We want everyone to succeed, our children to regularly attend school and graduate on time, our families to have financial stability, good housing, and access to health care. We are all stronger when we work together. Call us to find out how you can help. 888-3252.
New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, supporting strong communities by helping local governments since 1986.
Hi, this is Ashley LaFeria, and I'm a registered nurse and long-term care coordinator at Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice. CVHHH is looking for a registered nurse or LPN to join our health promotions team, which provides community-based medical care and education to improve people's health and wellness. We offer year-round public foot care clinics, public flu clinics, and private care nursing at home for clients. In this flexible 15 to 25-hour-a-week role, you will assist with public foot care clinics and provide other supports, including private duty nursing care to clients at home. Starting wage for registered nurses is $27 per hour, and there are no weekends or holidays required. This is an ideal role for a parent with school-age children. You can work while they're at school. At CVHHH, you can set and manage your own schedule and start your day from home. Most important, you will feel a sense of pride knowing you've provided care that makes a difference in the community. To learn more and apply, visit cvhhh.org.
Winter in Vermont can seem idyllic, But for those struggling to heat their homes and feed their families, it can be cold and long. Once again, the Radio Vermont Group is partnering with Capstone Community Action to help our neighbors in need. And we're asking for your help. Media coverage is underwritten in part by
Ladder One Grill in the historic firehouse in Barrie. Gifford Medical Center, caring for you for life. Woodbury Mountain Toys, a fixture on State Street in Montpelier since 1991. Stowe Beverage, Mountain Road in Stowe. And Nelson Ace Hardware, tools, garden supplies, home decor, and household items on Main Street in Barrie.
The Radio Vermont Group urges you to help fuel your neighbors this winter. Go to fuelyourneighbors.org to donate today. Even the smallest donation can help.
Do you want to learn more about the free market perspective on important public policy issues affecting you, your work, and your community? I'm Bill Sayre, and I hope you'll do so by joining me in conversation with Vermont opinion leaders as we discuss how best to make Vermont an ever better and more affordable place to live and work. Common Sense Radio with Bill Sayre, weekdays 11 till noon.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Reminder, when the show is over, you can head over to the podcast channel on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and you can get the full show for free. I want George Thomas, the host of Jazz with George Thomas, to listen to this out in the hallway on the big radio we have out there. I want to give him a warning on something, but sometimes you just have to take matters into your own hands. I'm going to talk about the Patriots in a second here, but sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands. For the last 3 weeks, maybe the last month, I've been complaining about the rickety chair here in the WDEV studio. Well, nobody has fixed the chair, right? And the fact the chair just keeps getting worse. So, like, we were at the point where this morning, the chair was like the back of the chair was just swiveling from side to side. And, like, I leaned back and almost fell out of it. So I'm not dealing with that anymore. So I have taken matters into my own hands. I have taken out said chair. I've put it in an alternate studio, and I have grabbed the chair from that alternate studio. This chair is very comfortable. It's a little older. It's got a little slit in the, in the butt part of the chair, but it's still comfortable. It's still got good padding. The back of the chair offers good support. I'm very comfortable. But my warning to George Thomas and anyone else who sits in this chair is that one wheel is missing off the chair. So the previous chair had no back, and you almost fell out of it. This chair is missing one wheel. That's a far greater alternative to me than not having a back to the chair. For the last 3 weeks, I've been going home with a back problem just from sitting in this chair. Now we got a good chair, but we're missing one wheel. So warning to George Thomas, if you try to move back at all and you can't, it's because you've gotten the chair oriented in some way where the non-wheeled part is trying to do all the work and it doesn't have anything to do. So sometimes you just have to take matters into your own hands, right? I think we're like about to get a new chair. I couldn't even wait anymore. Once I almost fell and I realized I had back pain, I'm out. I'm done with this chair. I wanted to throw it through the wall earlier today. I was like, that's probably not a good idea. So I have just commandeered another studio's chair and have decided that not having a wheel is better than not having the back to the chair. So you're welcome to fellow WDEV employees. Sometimes all it takes is my own ingenuity to fix things around here. I can't fix anything handy-wise. A real man would have fixed the chair himself. I just stole another studio's chair and decided to just come and tell you all about it. But a real man would have fixed it. I don't have the ability to do that, though. I'm still a real man, but just not handy. I could talk about sports and drink beer, though, so that's got to count for something. All right, couple of minutes left. I got to tell you, of the 5 teams that took quarterbacks in the NFL draft in 2021, the same year as the Patriots did with Mac Jones, I think I feel 4th best about the Patriots. And I don't think that's a good spot to be. Like right now, I think I feel better about Jacksonville than the Patriots. Trevor Lawrence looked really good down the stretch. I feel better about San Francisco. It has nothing to do with Trey Lance, but I feel better about San Francisco. And I think I feel better about the Bears as well with Justin Fields. And with the cap space they have coming, their ability to go out and get wide receivers, Fields' development, his ability as a runner, I think I feel better about those three teams than the Pats, and then the Jets are last. And if the Jets go get Derek Carr, they could vault into fourth themselves, and I could feel the worst about the Patriots. This is not a good spot to be in. The Patriots have the ability, as I've said, to make a few moves and get up near, get back to playoff relevancy. That's true. They're not that far away. But of the teams that took quarterbacks in their draft year, I'm feeling better about the Jags, the Niners, and the Bears. The Jags have the advantage of playing in a lackluster AFC South. Like, they have that advantage, but I think Trevor Lawrence really acquitted himself nicely over the end of the season. And the last half of the year, they win a playoff game, went into Kansas City and played, I thought, relatively well. Yeah, I think the future is brighter right now in Jacksonville. I feel better about the future in Jacksonville than I do about the future in New England. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV. All right, we're going to kick it off to our guy, Jazz with George Thomas here momentarily. Reminder that coming up tonight is Jazz with George Thomas, then Eye on the World with John Batchelor, ESPN Radio into the overnight hours. As always, the podcast channel is available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Tomorrow, we'll talk more UVM hoops. We'll have Coach Brennan live on the air. Sometimes we tape Coach Brennan and just play cuts of it. No, tomorrow, we're going to have Coach Brennan with us live, so I'm pumped about that. He'll be with us at 5:45 and help us talk more kind of through UVM's issues and possible solutions. And then if he feels as good as I do coming out of the Sunday win against NJIT. So a lot of good stuff coming this week. We have high school basketball tomorrow as well, so it's a shorter show just until 6:45. But, 75 minutes is 75 minutes. We'll talk about everything you need to know. Have a great night, everybody. Drive safe. Go download the full show podcast. George Thomas, don't fall out of the chair. I'll see you again tomorrow here on WDEV AM and FM.
WDEV is sending a lucky winner to the Daytona 500 this February.